All right. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome. There's a fruit fly that's flying in front of the webcam already. As soon as you open these, I know we were already saying this, but as soon as you open these, it's just like the room already starts to already starts to smell. But welcome guys. Welcome Arminder. Welcome everyone
Hello.
who is joining us on this live. This is my very first live hosting on my channel. I know I was on yours a few weeks ago.
Yes.
It's a little bit more nerve wracking being on this side of things, you know?
There's a lot you got to like think about. A lot of prep work leading into it,
Yeah, there's some prep work. Yep.
yeah, creating that nice background you have there with the nice little
I
gradient.
I didn't
It's
create it. It was a default.
Oh, wow. I totally to
Yeah.
me oh, and you're matching your shirt. I just realized is that on purpose?
That is not on purpose. Not
You
on
fooled me.
purpose, but yeah, you can tell I clearly like certain colors, right? I like a lot of
Ah.
color. So yeah, tie-dye is one of my faves. We already have 6 viewers over
Ooh.
here. Yep, yep.
Hello everyone.
And
Oh, it's so
so
much more relaxing here, not having to like be the lead or not,
the
the
lead.
person. Yeah, it's like I could just chill. I don't have to worry about it.
I know, and I feel as if you gave me such like a grand entrance when we did this on your channel, and I feel like I owe it to you
No,
to also do the grand entrance. But I'm like,
no.
let's just start with you already on the screen with
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's all good.
Fewer buttons for me to push. But for those of you who are tuning in right now, obviously we're on my channel. I'm sure you know Arminder from the Rum Revival. I'm sure if you are one of my subscribers, you are also one of his subscribers. Arminder, your channel is like one of my favorites on
Oh,
YouTube. I probably watch yeah, I'm definitely someone who watches
thank you.
like every video that comes out. That's a lie. I
Yes,
didn't watch the spiced rum video. I'm sorry. I didn't.
liar. Yeah, it's always weird. I will say when people tell me they actually watch it, it's really tough for me as I'm making and editing the videos because I'm like, oh yeah, crap, Robin's gonna watch this, or like so and so is gonna watch this, and suddenly like the stakes get higher. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I actually have to make this be somewhat decent now.
So
So thanks for adding that stress.
you're welcome. So a little peek behind the curtain. You're the one who's doing all the editing for your videos. Is
Yeah, like
it's you?
I only make like $7 a video, so like yeah, I'm definitely doing all my editing for sure.
That is
Yeah,
more than zero
that's
dollars a
true.
video. That's
That's
really
true.
great. How long did it take you to get used to watching yourself and listening to yourself on camera?
Oh no, I still haven't gotten used to it, and I still absolutely hate it. But the thing that's happened is I've gotten faster at editing.
Yep.
So I have to look at myself less and less through the
Hmm.
editing process, which is great. You know what I mean? And that was probably the big driver. Like I have to get good at this, so I don't have to like listen to myself. And the real key is not do like a million takes of the
Yep.
same one line over and over again, because that's a lot of work up front. And then when you're editing it, you have to go through all those million takes to figure out which one to use. Like it's just more work. So at some point, I got the genius idea of simplifying it and just making life a lot easier.
Yep.
Just hopefully, I'm only gonna further and further make it easier. I hope.
I mean, your videos are very high quality, so I commend you and you do a great job. Do a great
It's
job with your videos.
style over substance is what I always say. It's the way to go. It's the way to go.
So you only started your YouTube channel like a little over 2 years ago, is that correct?
That is crazy. That is simultaneously very short and very long amount of time to have passed. I don't know how to feel about that, but yeah, I guess so. Like it's been 2 years, but it's been fast, but it's also been like forever.
Hmm.
Like days and weeks go by, and all you're doing is thinking about videos. And like then because the other day I looked back at my main page and it said like 100 plus videos. I'm like, what? No way. That's impossible. But I guess so, according to YouTube. Huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really incredible. Like you've done a really great job over such honestly, it is a short period of time, 2.5 years. Or
Goes by like
how, oh,
this.
wait. No, I wrote down. I see. I have notes. I did some research
Oh,
about you.
okay. Oh,
You've only
yikes.
been on YouTube for about a year. You've been on Instagram for like 2.5 years, right? That's
Yeah, I
when you
guess that's
started
a
your
good
rum
point.
revival. Yeah. Okay.
On November of 2 years ago, I guess the math checks out. Yeah, the YouTube thing consistently, like a weekly, probably happened of June or July of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go with
Yeah.
that.
And your channel has really grown and you're already making $7 per video. That's amazing.
Yes, it's not about the money.
It's-
I don't know what it's about. It's about the doing.
I think I know what it's about because I watched your video about how your rum story in, is it Five Rums, right? Your
Oh, I
your
think so.
your rum journey in Five Rums.
Mm.
Is that the title of it? I don't know if that's the actual title of it.
If it isn't, it should be. I mean, it's cutting to the chase of it. It's probably what I should have done.
Yeah, yeah. So you drank rum that honestly I would really hate for a long time before you started tasting and actually enjoying like rums and becoming a rum collector, a rum YouTuber and everything. What was the rum that kind of turned you? What was the rum that
Ooh,
yeah.
that's a good question. Well, I'm trying to remember what I actually said in the video.
Oh, I can tell you I took notes.
Well, so there's a lot of different things, right? I think to be I think I don't know if like in terms of where I am now in terms of drinking rums and buying a lot of rums. If we're talking about that, for me, that was probably like I guess started 1824 for very weird, selfish reasons. Like that was the thing that really got me on this thing. Like, oh, I like not only drinking a lot of rums, but I like buying them, which is a bad, dangerous habit. I'm tell you. I don't recommend it.
Hmm.
It can get out of hand. This what you're seeing here. You're only seeing 3 bottles, and that's just to like make it look like I'm just a very kind of like I keep it sparse. But if you were to actually see what's here, it's a mess of bottles everywhere. It's like a battlefield of bottles. But that was probably one of the ones that really got me into like, oh, it's not just about selfishly. I wanted to start. I got this like fed this kind of itch of like collecting and buying. But of course, by doing that, you come to start appreciating more and more rums because hopefully you drink the things you buy. Because if you don't, that sucks. And that's what I started doing. So that was one of the ones that really had a big impact. Because then I was like, oh, I want to buy stuff and drink them and learn and explore that world of rum.
In your
Yeah.
video, you said it was the bar cart that your wife bought that was the one where
Yes.
you're like, I actually want to display the rums.
Yeah, purely kind of like for like look at me selfish reasons or I need attention and reasons like look at my cool bar cart with cool bottles on it. It became this weird fixation, which now I don't even know where that. Well, I know where the bar cart is. It's behind a bunch of boxes and stuff, and no one gets to see it. I guess in a way, my YouTube channel is my bar cart.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true. That's true. I mean, yeah, you're now your virtual bar cart for sure.
exactly. Yeah.
How many of the bottles? So if you kind of collect, I don't know if you identify as a rum collector, but do you ever leave bottles unopened? Like this one's getting set aside for a special occasion?
No, no. The only time I leave a bottles unopened is just because I haven't gotten to it yet. Like if I bought a bunch, but no, the idea is always to drink them. I say that as I'm looking through a couple of unopened bottles, but that's not for like to save them or flip them or anything like that.
Hmm.
No.
Okay, good, because I would have to like kick you off.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
you're supposed to drink them. That's what
Yeah,
bottles are intended
they're meant to be shared and enjoyed. Um,
Totally.
yeah. So I don't know. Did you want to include any other tidbits about you or your YouTube channel or your Instagram or
No, you've encapsulated me perfectly.
have I?
Yes, both between what you've said and what I've said, I think really you know me inside and out at this point. There's nothing more to add. This is me. This is me, world.
I can confirm that you don't have like a YouTube persona, right? You are in real life who you are on YouTube and Instagram, which like is really great.
Mm,
You're like that's a really commendable thing because I think a lot of people have to like put on this like showmanship when they're in front of the camera and yeah, it's like nice to meet someone who's actually like genuinely passionate about rums and telling the stories about the makers and just connecting with the people who also enjoy rum. So
thanks, and I would say right back at you too. You very much are the same person on screen that you are in person. Maybe a little taller than I thought. Maybe
you're also tall.
yeah. I get that too. That's actually the thing I get all the time. Like, oh, you're actually tall. I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, great. Yeah. So, all right. I don't know if we want to do a quick recap of kind of what we went over on your channel when we tasted. So yeah, welcome everyone who's watching us. We're going to be tasting the back half of the 8 Marks collection from Hampden. I'm trying to I'm backwards. There we go. There we go. We're tasting the back half, so the extra high ester rums from both the unaged and the aged collections. And over on Arminder's channel, the Rum Revival, we tasted the first 4. So that would be, that would be OWH, LROC, LFCH, HLCF, and not in that order. I think I mixed up. Yep. LROC and I think I mixed up a couple, but those are the first 4 that we tasted, and now we're going to be tasting Diamond H, HGML, C Diamond H, DOK.
There you go. Very exciting. It's funny how like I feel like now I mess up on the order sometimes too, but like how ingrained all these letters are now in my brain. This combination of letters. Like, it's like the kind of thing that I would I think like a kid would obsess about, like certain letters and numbers and words and stuff like that. Or like the way like kids like obsess about like, I don't know, colors and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, to me, us rum nerds, we'd obsess about these damn like, marks.
The marks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the reason we obsess about them is because it just like makes us feel like we understand the production process a little bit more, like we understand the rum a little bit more, right? Because they're not only giving us like, oh, this is the mark, this is what it tastes like, because you've tried it. It's also like, and this is why it is this mark, and how we get it to be the ester concentration that we get it to be. At least that's for me. I get so obsessed with like the fact that I get to be a part of the production process without actually being a part of it.
Right. And then by knowing the names and the kind of production process, they get fleshed out. Like they become almost like people. Like we say, I'm going to have some DOK, and like they have personalities, both from obviously the way they taste and I don't know, the way we our own, what we bring to them and our perceptions of like what I think about Rumfire. So HLCF automatically to me becomes like this like buddy of mine,
Yeah.
way. And DOK becomes this really cool, like mysterious hipster person you want to hang out with, but you can only catch glimpses of them here and there kind of thing.
DOK for sure drives a Harley. Like DOK's
Love it.
If we're gonna like personify these
as we should.
Yeah.
As we should.
DOK is the one everyone's like really, really wants to be friends with, but has a very specific personality where you're like, I don't know, but I really want to be friends with them. So.
Last year, when the unaged set came out, I spent so much when I was writing the script for my video on it. I spent so much time trying to think of clever, like breakdowns of what the letters actually stand for. And so they actually stand for certain people and whatnot. But I was trying to come up with clever things like OWH. What was it? Oh wow, that's hot. Something dumb like that. Things like that. And I couldn't quite get. I got like 2 or 3 that were somewhat okay, but none of them really like. I don't have that kind of mind to really kind of come up with clever names. But
do you remember any of the clever ones?
Unfortunately, that was the clever one.
Oh, that was it. I'm sorry.
Oops.
I thought I was like waiting for DOK to be. Yeah, I my brain also will like think of these tomorrow. Like way too late in the game. It's like I'm the one who like comes up with the comeback, but like days later, and I'm like, I should have said this.
I got it for DOK. Ready? Damn. Okay.
That was good. That was good. All right. So with that, so for those of you who missed our what day did we do the live on your channel? That was
2-3 weeks ago.
2-3 weeks ago. Also on a Friday, also at 4:30. And we gave the brief intro into what the 8 Marks collection is, and I'm sure if you are watching this, you are more than familiar with what the 8 Marks collection is. But Hampden Estate is a distillery in Jamaica that is a really, really, really great distillery in Jamaica, and they're still making rum today the same way they were hundreds of years ago, where it would be a brewer's nightmare if you walked into their distillery. There's just no sanitizing that goes on because they have built in this just microbiome into the distillery, and that's what gives it its amazing flavors. And each mark that they have is essentially a different recipe that has varying degrees of funkiness. I don't know. I feel like I should come up with a better term rather than just saying funky all the time, right? I feel like you hear Jamaican rums and you're like, oh yeah, funky, or like high hogo or something. But like funky's I don't know. Do you have a better way of describing it?
It's tough because once you've had enough Jamaican rums, like then it becomes shorthand. Like we all get it. Like you know what I mean? Like we understand what we're saying. So it is kind of like, in a way, kind of a little tough for maybe someone who's outside of the rum space to understand what that means. You know?
Yeah.
Like how do you? It's so multifaceted because it's not just overripe tropical fruit.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's so much more to it than that, right?
Yeah.
And I used to say that, but like it's not that, right? It's a little bit of I mean, what is it? It's a little bit of like the little punch to it, right? It's a little bit of like, I don't know, sour acidity, maybe a touch, or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. It's multifaceted. You kind of have to drink a bunch.
It is. Yeah. I agree. But anyways, each mark has a different ester concentration, which are these fruity and floral flavors that you're referencing. And they do that by altering essentially the fermentation and the ingredients that go into the fermentation. And so the first 2 marks of the 8 Marks collection it's just molasses and water that's wild fermented for a short duration fermentation. And then they start to add in the cane vinegar, the dunder, and the muck in smaller quantities into larger quantities. And here we are tasting 4 rums that all have lots of cane vinegar, dunder, muck, and are very long duration fermentations, anywhere from 10 days to 25 days, up to 25 days. But we did have some questions that I think we addressed on your channel, but maybe are ones that we might want to address again. Like I know one we didn't answer, actually. Where did you get your 8 Marks collection? The aged or unaged? Where did you end up picking yours up?
So let's see. I got one copy that was kindly enough sent to me by the folks at Limson and Failure. But
Whoa.
then I did buy it because I have a weird hang up where I feel like I need to, someone sent me something, I feel like I need to actually then buy it. And I bought that from Astor. Yeah.
Okay. You bought that was the 1-year-old from Astor, or
yes.
both of them?
Yep. Both. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe I got the unaged from K&L Wine out here in California. And then I got the 1-year-old from High Time in Costa Mesa. So yeah. Someone asked.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to them. Yeah.
Let's get some of that sponsorship money, affiliate link money, huh?
Yeah. Use the link down below to get no discount. That was one question that we got that we didn't address. We got another question, right? And we talked about it for a little bit that I actually got the answer to. We were wondering, were these single barrels or was there a blend of barrels that went into each mark for the 1-year-old? And did you find out the information, Arminder? Do you know? Do you know the answer?
No, I don't think so. Someone may have said something, but I think it went in one ear and out the other.
Okay. It's 6 barrels. 6 barrels went into each batch.
Cool. Good to know.
And these are another question we got was, how are they aged? They're all aged in standard ex-bourbon casks. So 200 liters or like 53 gallons. So 6 of those per mark here.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We also got some questions about how barrel entry proof and how the climate where you're aging will impact the maturation. And we can dive into that as we're tasting if we want to. But yeah, with that, I think those are the questions. Yeah. Those are the questions that we got. I don't know. Do we want to dive in?
Oh, I think we should.
Okay, and Arminder, you're going to be kicking it off with the Diamond H. Oh, wait, I made banners just like you.
Awesome. Nice. Look at that. Fancy.
Yeah, I know. So fancy. So Diamond H. So this is sitting at 900 to 1,000 grams of esters per hectoliter of pure alcohol. So this is potent. We're starting at potent already and just going to be building into more and more potent.
And I think it's worth calling out, like, the previous mark from before Diamond H is HLCF, which is only 400 to 600.
Yep.
Right?
It's a big jump.
And that's a pretty big jump to go from there to the 9. It almost seems like there should be a mark in the middle. And supposedly there might be, but that's,
Supposedly there is. Yeah, that came up when we were doing our live.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you remember what that one was called? I feel like it was like Diamond. Yeah. I knew there was an R in there because I was like, oh, R for Robin.
Yeah. So quick little tip, because I don't think that's set, because it's available, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's part of that triple set that has like a Entente or whatever with the
yep. I'm glad you said it.
Foursquare and Nissan. And I don't think that's supposed to be available in the US, but it is currently available on the Whiskey Exchange website, and they do ship. So it retails for around $240 for all 3 of the rums. Shipping is an extra $260.
Oh, damn.
To get it up. Because I saw it. Because I have a little bookmark for the Whiskey Exchange for all their new rum releases. I saw, I'm like, $240. Oh, you know what? I'm going to buy it. Screw it. And then I put it in my cart and I tried closing closing the transaction. Like, well, pretty much the exact same price to ship it as well on top of that. Oh, no, thank you. So yeah, if you are interested in this mysterious 9th mark, that's, I guess, potentially one way of getting your hands on it.
Does it come with the triple entente? Is this 3 bottles? Is that why?
Yeah, it is. 750. It looked like it might be 700s or maybe 5 somethings, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Divide it up.
Hey, we can talk offline. I'd be down. Yeah.
Since we both need to buy more rum.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah, we need to feed that habit. But yeah, Diamond H, I think I derailed you from your breakdown.
You didn't. I did my banner and that derailed me. The banner got me. I was like, I did it. See guys?
Fancy little graphic.
Yeah, look. So just to kind of summarize what how Diamond H is made. It is done it's fermented for 10 days using medium amounts of cane vinegar, dunder, and muck. So I believe the muck is added during the kind of dead wash, as they call it, which is 7 days long. So after a 3-day ferment, then I believe they are adding in the I believe they're adding in the muck to that. Yeah. So
So
any
what I have
any
here,
notes? Any notes
yeah.
coming
So
forward?
yeah, so I, Diamond H, what I have here, I'm smelling the unaged one. The first thing, which I kind of, spoiler alert, I had a little peek behind the curtain. I had worked through some of these like a couple days ago to kind of try to take some notes. But one thing that popped out on me at this moment that I didn't note was like this blueberry note on
Oh,
the aroma,
okay.
which I think is kind of really nice. Yes, I'm getting your pineapples and your little bit of bananas for sure, but I never noticed this blueberry before. But now it's like very berry, and I've gotten berry notes in general from some of Hamden's rums.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like it's a mix of like berries and banana to me. That's not what this necessarily. This is more blueberry. And I'm not someone who actually has a lot of experience with blueberries, which is a very weird sentence to say. But like, I don't have a lot of blueberries. Like, I don't eat a lot of blueberries, but this to me just really reminds me of blueberries. Um, I'm also though getting a little bit of like marker,
Yeah.
and I feel like some people will call these notes different things, like industrial notes.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will often say things like glue or varnish. I don't know if that's what this is. To me, this is just like marker, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
Sharpie note as I'm kind of doing that. And I do want to actually jump before tasting it. I want to go into the aged expression real quick, because as you were talking and I was smelling this, it to me is really stood out because this reminds me of a couple of things. It reminds me a little bit of like a baked good in a way, almost like a fruit cake maybe of some kind, almost like a tropical fruit cake,
Okay.
which is not a note I was getting. I still get a little bit of marker, but I think it's a lot lighter now on the
Yeah.
aroma, on the aged expression. Um, but the pineapple that I'm getting here on the aged expression, what's interesting, how do I describe it? What's the like tapache? Have you ever like tapache?
Oh, yeah. I've
Yeah,
made
like that little.
tapache.
Yeah, a little bit of that, like a little bit of brown sugar sweet, but also the acidic.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of which I didn't necessarily pick up on in the unaged expression. I think part of that for me is the blueberry is a little more dominant on the unaged compared to compared to the aged expression, and the marker's more forward in the unaged.
I love how the power of suggestion, how strong it is,
Mm.
because you said blueberry and I was like, nah, I'm not getting it. And as soon as I like started to pull the glass away, I was like, oh my God, there it is.
Yeah, right, exactly right.
So I love when you're like able to look for things. I don't know. I feel like it's so fun to do tastings alone and
Sure.
get your own taste or get your own aromas and flavors. But then when you're doing them in a group and everyone
Mm.
goes, oh yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get this, no, I
Right.
and they start to kind of like pass around these tasting notes. I think that's so fun. So
Yeah, and I think it's a good reminder though, like especially when you do like these are all our own individual sensory organs, which is a weird
mhm.
thing to say. Like all these are all relative to our own personal experiences and sense memories and things we eat. Like, there's no actual blueberries in here, there's no actual pineapples in here, but you may not necessarily get that. But when we come together and compare it to your point, then we might start noticing things. So I think it's super useful to kind of do all that. Yeah, to me, it's so much more blueberry on the unaged
Yeah.
versus the aged. The aged one just has a little bit more sweetness. Is not a thing you can really smell, I guess, but like, I
No,
don't
I
know.
would agree though. I would
Yeah,
agree more sweetness in
yeah,
like a definitely like a fruity
yeah,
sweet way.
yeah. And I haven't had like Depache in a while, but this just reminded me a little bit of that.
Hmm.
I am maybe there is still some of the berry, but it's not as dominant as it is on the unaged. Um, Yeah, but I actually kind of like both of them. It's weird because I thought going into this, we had before we did this, went live yesterday. We talked about how we were going to split the marks, and I basically said like, "Hey, Robin, you pick because I picked last time." And so she gave me the diamonds, and actually I think I don't actually like the diamonds going into this. I thought I didn't like them when I did my like own tasting a couple weeks back, but at least on the aroma, I'm actually really digging these.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right.
Maybe diamonds are a boy's best friend. I guess I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I rehearsed that line. That did not come out of the top of my head. Anyways, I'm gonna go in here.
Yeah. Uh, Marshall from Rough Spirits. I'm glad to hear that my tiny mic is just carrying my voice really well. He says it's louder and clearer than the full size mic, which I don't know. Maybe that means I need to
Oh,
stop being so close
oh,
to it.
maybe I need to get closer to mine. Shout out Marshall, what's up? But yeah, let's acknowledge your awesome, amazing tiny mic
I'm
and your holder for it.
Yeah, my holder.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. The holder was engineered by me. This tiny mic was a throw from Mardi Gras. So it's from if anyone's been to Mardi Gras, my sister was part of the Tux crew, which is a toilet themed crew. Um, and they threw out mics, which have nothing to do with toilets. They also throw out
Mm.
like plungers and toilet paper and poopery and stuff like that. So, but this is one of the throws, and it was like probably one of the best things I got. The thing that I use the most,
Well, it's your
aside from
signature now, right?
yeah, it's my signature. Yeah, the tiny
Yeah.
mic. It makes
Yeah.
my hands look huge. So maybe actually people are now going to meet me and be like, "Wow, you're so much smaller in real life."
There you go. Yeah, all part of the plan.
Yeah, but it's just clipped on here using a folder clip um, onto phone tripod thing.
It's some real
Yeah,
MacGyver stuff. Yeah.
I
Mm.
am an engineer, so
There you go. There you go. On this Diamond H, the unaged one, again, I hadn't really clocked this when I was trying this the other day, but I'm getting some of that blueberry still on the palate. Berries, blueberries on the palate. It seems very, very like a vivid berry kind of note. Yeah, there is this like pineapple note. It's to me very sharp and a little sour. Maybe I'm kind of mixing flavors together, but it's better than I remember it.
maybe you just needed to like keep being exposed to it, and then you're like, wait, this actually is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm getting what I get in a couple of these back half. Well, actually, even the middle marks, but there's a little bit of a touch of brininess as well. I don't know if you get any brine or olive. It's not aggressive. It's not in your face, but I feel like it's there too.
At least on the nose, going back and forth, and I don't know why I sipped the. First of all, I was supposed to be giving you these marks, but I came prepared with extra glasses because last time you were following along, and I was like, wait, I want to follow along too. uh, I don't know why I sipped the aged first, but at least going back and forth between the noses, you're totally right that I did get like more of the notes that I remember from the lower marks on the nose of the unaged after sniffing the 1-year-old. So I was
Oh,
getting
interesting.
more of those like at first I wasn't getting them. This is very much like nail salon plus fruits and everything. But then when I went back to the unaged, that's where I started to get more of those like grassy, yeah, a little briny notes on the nose. So
Yeah, there's a sharp. To me, there's a little bit of. There is a little bit of like cough syrup / vomit, and I say that a lot. I'm not sure if that's the right term to be using. And of course, when I think of like medicine, I think of like vomiting or vice versa. I don't know. It's like this weird thing I have where, to me, on the finish, I'm getting like this note of pineapple, but like circled around it is cough medicine, like a tussin, as well as vomit. The good kind of vomit, the one that the drinkable kind. Yeah, and it's tolerable. Like I think I have a low tolerance for that note in general. When I've decided, as I've started trying more Jamaican rum, especially for the channel, that generally those higher ester, overly funky stuff, it's not really my wheelhouse. But right now here, it's kind of right at the kind of the edge for me in terms of how strong that note is. But I can deal with it.
butyric acid is maybe that's what you're picking up. There
see it.
is definitely ethyl butyrate in this, and in order to get ethyl butyrate, it's comes from butyric acid being esterified with ethanol. So they're most likely, because esterification is a reaction that exists in an equilibrium, right? It's not a full blown, it's a reversible reaction. So it's not, ethanol plus butyric acid all goes to ethyl butyrate, right? There's kind of that back and forth depending on where it is in the equilibrium. And so, yeah, maybe you're just extra sensitive and able to pick up the remaining butyric acid that is in the marks.
Let's go with that. I only understood half of it, but yeah, let's go with that. I felt smarter just hearing that. Now,
yeah.
So the thing that really stands out.
Oh no, Arminder, we lost a bunch of viewers now.
Oh no,
I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just kidding. My chemistry lesson, just everyone's like, okay, that's too much for a Friday.
But look, that's what I want out of my Robin content. I get, you know what I mean? Like if you're not doing it, who's gonna do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Does it need to be done?
No, of course it does. Absolutely. Come on. On the age expression, obviously the first thing you notice is just the fact that there was some age in it. It just feels, even though it's lower in proof, right? Because I think the unaged are 60 and the aged ones are 20 to 52. There's just like this little more lushness, a little richness. But the thing, and I think so far of all the marks I've had in this age set, I don't think, unless maybe with the exception of like there was one weird one like LFCH, the rest of them don't really have a lot of like overly like notes that you would associate with aged rums. Like there's not big notes of caramel, big notes of like vanillas. There may be little hints at it, right? And again, part of this might be just the 1 year of aging, but I'm not really picking up a lot of that.
Neither am
for
I.
the most part. Yeah. But I do get this perceived kind of a little more oily or I don't know, richer kind of body, especially when you go from the sip of the unaged to the aged, it kind of immediately jumps out to you. And what I get on this version is less of the marker, but I get some of the brine, but there's like a licorice note too. I don't know if it's like a, how do I describe it? Like a savory quality. There's like a little bit of pepper. There's berry, but it's less vivid now too. It's maybe like a muddled berry. I don't know what that means, but
yeah,
like everything is not full blast. Everything's a little bit more kind of a little more reserved, or there's more middle notes and bass notes as opposed to the high bright notes of the unaged expression.
Yeah, I'm not mad about the 1 year old and how it does just have this kind of like subtle difference. Like if it were clear, if in some weird world, or we put it in a glass where you can't actually see the color, would you be able to say like, oh, this has definitely seen some oak? Or are you like, oh, it's just maybe the distillation cuts were slightly different or something else in the production process? Because there isn't anything to me that really like, I don't know. Maybe it's because the unaged has so much powerful flavor that there's nothing that really screams like, oh yeah, this has been in oak for.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, the other day, give you a plug real quick, Rum It All Baseline, which is no longer available, but you can still pick up bottles of Dunderclap. I was drinking the Still Strength Baseline, and I was just like, oh wow, there's a body, there's a little bit of a presence on the palate, and that's obviously an unaged distillate. And so yeah, to your point, like that doesn't necessarily mean that it's that there's even though this is lower in proof, this is again, what is it, 52?
52,
yeah, it just feels like that. So I guess if I didn't see the color, I don't know if I necessarily would have. That being said, there was, again, I keep on going back to that not weird one. I really liked it, but LFCH from when we did their tasting on my channel, that had all these kind of really interesting, slightly oaky, nutty, I don't know, dried fruit notes that to me came all from the aging.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I see that. That one seems the oddball, frankly.
I agree, and I think that's why we brought up the question of how many barrels went into each
Mm,
of these marks, because we were like, okay, well, if it's just like a one-off single barrel, right? And this just
mhm.
happens to be a barrel that has a lot more that was extracted from it. But no, it 6 barrels, like that's a
Yeah.
decent, maybe you had one of them that was just extra like powerful oaky. But I would
Yeah.
agree. I feel like, and we've only done the first of these four, but relative to the first four, this one has a lot less oak influence,
Hmm.
uh, just from being 1 year aged, as far as like the flavors that are extracted from the oak goes, at
Yeah.
least in my opinion. Yeah. So,
And to me, I did describe in the unaged one this kind of that vomit cough medicine. I'm getting that here, but there's like a different note on the finish that's really standing out. It's almost like wet paper or like wet cardboard, maybe is what I'm
mm-hmm.
trying to like. There's this really interesting note that isn't. I had gone back to the unaged one to see if I could pick that up. I cannot pick that up. So that's coming somewhat from the aging, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, still berry, but I for me getting a little more licorice or some sort of savory kind of note there. Um, but it is richer, but not the caramel vanillas of the oak aging that you'd expect. But there's just kind of this level of like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if it's like even oily. It's just, I don't know. There's a little
Mm-hmm.
depth to it.
Yeah.
It's
Viscosity,
cool.
a little more
There you go.
viscosity. Yeah.
Let's go with that.
So I know I mentioned this in your video too, but this, you know, I just wish I wish we knew what the concentration of am I showing you the right ones? There we go. What the concentration of the non-volatile and volatile components that are extracted from the barrel are,
Mm,
right? We know like ester concentration, at least a range, but after a year, they show us kind of a pie chart breakdown. Let's see if I had, there's Diamond H. Um, but not any quantities where I can go, okay, if there's, you know, 0.5% is
mm,
now these volatile and non-volatile compounds extracted from the oak. I kind of get an idea of like relative to the ester concentration, what does that look like?
right.
Not that that
Also,
not that that means that we'd be able to taste those more, because it all depends on our sensitivities to all these different chemical compounds, but it's at least I just want more data.
Great. Yeah, I'm always like, give me more.
Give me more
Let
data.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, shout out to furfurals, which is a word that in our that I learned in our last live stream that I kind of fell in love
Yep.
with. Just
Yep.
fun saying furfurals.
Furfurals, those roasty, caramely, nutty notes.
Yeah, but
Yep.
again, I'm not getting a lot of that on
No.
this expression.
No.
Um, but again, it's all about concentration, right?
Yeah. It is. Now, and it's all, oh gosh, it's all about a whole bunch of things. But yeah, it's all about concentration
Mm-hmm.
relative to what else is in there, right?
Ah,
Yeah. I mean, like, maybe it's because these have such a high ester concentration that we're just any of the compounds that are extracted from the oak are just going to be masked a little bit, right?
right. Oh, that's what when I first started tasting through all the age, that was my kind of thought process, like or like, hey, how much as you go up the ester count is the effect of the aging going to diminish, or the
Mm-hmm.
perception of those flavor notes of the aging going to diminish on your palate because of how much of the the esters are. So it'd be interesting to compare this to DOK at the end to see
Mm-hmm.
if we feel like we get even less of that
Yeah.
on the age expression.
Well, should we move on
Yes,
to
let's.
the next? Let's see how HGML at
What?
1,000 to 1,100 grams per hectoliter of pure alcohol ester concentration does. Now, So for HGML, we have a 7-day spontaneous fermentation. I must have, I that's wrong on my notes. Here we go. 15-day long for fermentation. There we go. 15-day long fermentation with a 10-day long dead wash. And it uses high amounts of cane vinegar and then medium amounts of dunder and muck. So I'm assuming you're joining me on these,
Sure.
even though these are supposed to be, we've split them up, but
I'll dabble. How's that?
you'll dabble. Yeah.
And I think I've kind of decided that of these 4, HGML might be the one I enjoy a little bit more than the others. So
Okay.
let's go for it. And I will try to come up with a clever acronym for HGML. It won't be clever, but I sure as hell will try.
Maybe by the time you're on DOK, you'll just every acronym you come up with will be clever.
Well, it'll feel clever. I mean, I don't know. Can you beat damn okay for that? I don't know. I think that's it. That's the one to beat.
That one might be the one to beat, but it's the way you said it too.
Yeah.
The damn. Okay. that's yeah. I think it's so funny when I don't know. Diamond H was now my warm up, and now I'm going into this, and I'm like, oh, it's not as like pungent as something that's at 1,000 to 1,100 grams per hectoliter of pure alcohol of esters should be. Where I'm getting a lot more like there's like a vanilla waxy candle thing that now coincides with the standard with all 4 of these. I get it's nail salon and there's just like fermenting pineapple.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's certain like hallmark baseline notes I feel like you'll get kind of across a lot of the Hampden stuff, right? And it's and that's what you want. You want some of that kind of signature stuff, but there's things on top of that. Vanilla wax candle. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that like vanilla wax candle thing. There's maybe like a tiki torch as well.
Ooh, tiki torch.
So yeah, we're kind of in the realm of that.
By tiki torch, what do you mean, like smoky, or do you mean like what do you mean by tiki torch?
No, more like the kerosene.
Sorry. Let's not get political here, folks. You were saying
more of like the tiki torch fuel, like kerosene, right? Is that what's actually still used for tiki torches?
I see what you're saying now.
Right,
although, what I just got a hit of like unripened apple. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or apple, like some sort of weird apple juice.
Yeah.
When's the last time you had apple juice? Like, I feel like as an adult, it's been forever. I'm not talking about like cider. I'm talking about like straight up like Mott's apple juice, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
no. I'm now sophisticated and I drink apple cider. So.
Yeah. I just realized there's something missing in my life. It's apple juice.
Yeah, I don't know. I see that apple thing. I'll raise you a pear.
Ooh. Wow. All right. I see your pear and I raise you. I don't know what the next fruit is in that trajectory.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, are you going back and forth between the aged or unaged, or you're just sticking with the unaged?
I just went with the unaged. At the beginning, I was going back and forth a little bit.
Well, you just put pear in my mind because that taste initially was like a watery pear.
Right?
And I'm getting so much watery pear.
Yeah. No, I get that as well. And then I get that like fermenting pineapple thing. It's not bad.
Yeah. Oh, there's a sweetness here, don't you
Mm-hmm.
feel like that necessarily wasn't in the Diamond Age? At least I
Yeah.
think so, or like a perceived sweetness of some kind.
Now I want to look at the ester breakdown from. Oh, okay. So Diamond Age. If we look
Mm-hmm.
at the ester breakdown on the,
Uh-huh.
you have your unaged chart in front of you, I'm sure.
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 It's here somewhere.
So the only non-ethyl acetate esters that were of detectable range, according to our pie chart here, for Diamond Age are ethyl butyrate and ethyl caproate. Now for HGML, we have
Mm-hmm.
ethyl butyrate, ethyl caproate, and ethyl lactate. So an
Ooh.
additional layer of fruits, maybe.
So lactate, to me, when I think lactate, I think of milk. Is that
You think
why
of
I'm getting some
milk.
sweetness? Is that right, or is that not how the chemistry of it works? That's not. Those are two
Uh
different things.
yeah, so I think when you're thinking of milk, you're thinking more of like the lactose, right?
That's
So
different than the lactate.
yeah, ethyl
Okay.
lactate. Yeah. But ethyl lactate is more on the it is more on the sweet fruity side of things. I don't know if there's a specific fruit that's normally attached to it. Like, we say
Okay.
pineapple, we say, oh, ethyl butyrate. In reality, it's, ethyl butyrate can be perceived by some people as pear, or maybe it is pineapple, or maybe it's just kind of like generic fruity. It
Mm,
depends on the person, right? And it
okay.
depends on the concentration as well. So ethyl lactate, I believe they're just kind of like fruity.
Got it.
That's yeah,
But
yeah.
at the very least, it's not necessarily, at least according to the chart, not present in Diamond Age, but it is present in the HGML.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So
Yeah.
potentially what we're picking up, that sweetness might be attributed to that.
Yeah, who knows though?
Yeah.
Who knows though? It might just be our palates like now just like warmed up and like
Mm,
our baseline has been set and yep.
it's possible.
So there's a lot of things here.
Yeah. Again, didn't think of pear before, but now on the unaged, so much pear. There's a pineapple for sure, but that pear, wow. I kind of love that pear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. So when I go to the 1-year-old, I get now more spices on the nose,
Mm,
specifically like clove is the first thing.
mm. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, right?
Doesn't it just smell like autumnal? I love saying
I
autumnal. How often do you get to say autumnal?
I
It's kind of
didn't
fun,
know
right?
it was a word until I watched the Great British Baking Show.
Oh,
The
I thought I would
last
just, okay.
I did not know it was even a word. I was like, wow.
Well, to be fair, we both live in California. We don't really have like fall and autumn. Like
That's
it's
true.
not really a thing we do. Especially you living where you live. Like
Yeah.
not really a season for you.
No, it's usually 70 and sunny.
Yeah.
But today it was a little windy and a little
Wow.
chilly. So,
It's been raining here the last day and a half. Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't it mostly rain in San Fran though?
Hence, first
It's
of all, don't
always.
call it San Fran.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
no, kidding. You call it whatever the hell you want. But like I live like far enough away that the weather is totally different.
Okay.
I'm yeah. No, but yeah, I don't know if San Francisco is raining or not.
Well, where I live also the weather is different from normal LA weather. So,
Mm,
it's usually 70 and sunny or we've got marine fog that rolls in.
uh,
So, yep. All right.
I don't know. I really like that aroma on the aged HTML.
Mhm.
Once you said clove, that I'm really enjoying that. It is sort of. I kind of drank where I decanted my aged diamond age, but it's still both of them have that additional like
Mm.
depth and dimensionality, I guess.
This one I would say though, um I think I'm blindfolded if this was in a glass where I couldn't tell the color. I think I would be like, "Oh, there's definitely some it just because of the amount of spice on the palate."
Hmm.
I would be able to at least tell you like this was probably aged. There's a
Hmm.
decent amount of spice that clove also carries through on the palate, um, where it almost it almost tastes like, it's kind of done the oak extract, like extracted it like a tea,
Mm.
and now it needs more time to incorporate everything where it feels a little bit almost disjointed. Um,
Oh, interesting.
right? I mean, I don't know if you're perceiving that as well, but this definitely, to me, definitely has that oak influence. Do we have
Yeah.
anyone watching who is also tasting along with us? Marshall, I know you said that you were going to be tasting these as well. Do you have them? Are you still here? Do
Yeah.
you
One, are you
have
still
them?
here? Is anyone still
Yeah.
here? It's
Is
just me and
anyone
you.
here?
But yeah, also, yeah, I don't know. We never really said this, and we should have done it in the last one too. Like, if you're drinking along, like, share your notes. I'd be curious to
Oh,
see what
please.
y'all are picking
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we tripping? Are we spot on? Are we suggesting certain things that are being implanted into your brains to make you perceive certain notes that you weren't necessarily getting before? All that fun stuff. Let us know.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you. Arminder, you're now the host.
Yes. Give me. I'm gonna go on the left side of this thing. Yeah, I guess
uh,
you're right. I do. It does feel a little more obviously. TJ is drinking rum, but not the collection. TJ,
yeah.
what are
What are
you
you
drinking?
drinking? What are you drinking,
Yeah,
TJ? Hmm.
we'll see how much of a delay there is between
I
when we
know.
see the questions and then when we. Yeah.
So it's fun when I go back to the unaged, like weirdly, even though the
Mm-hmm.
1-year-old should have more of like a vanilla thing on the nose just because of that oak. I'm I'm getting more vanilla on the unaged, and it's that vanilla waxiness, which is
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
some Worthy Park. TJ's drinking Worthy Park.
Ooh, love Worthy Park. Worthy Park's great.
Mm-hmm.
What I. I mean, they do a sort of somewhat not to go on a tangent, but they do a decent job of like sharing what that they have marks and with some of the names. But I would love for them to do something like this, like the unaged or aged version of their marks: WPL,
Mm-hmm.
WP, medium, extra, extra large, whatever all their marks. I would love for the Worthy Park version of this. I think that would
Yeah.
be super super cool. So because I know you're watching Worthy Park,
Worthy
please.
Park, we know you're watching, obviously.
Obviously. Please do something like this for y'all's marks because I think people would snap it up in a heartbeat. Everyone
So,
loves Worthy Park, right?
yeah, and it's funny you said that. I man, so Brian, aka the Rum Champion, and I, this is going to be a little like spoiler for a video to come soon, but we pass samples back and forth to each other of rums that are just unlabeled.
Oh, cool.
And like the only thing the other person needs to do is guess the country of origin for the rum. And Brian and I are not nice to each other. We give each other such
Damn.
like curveballs. And he gave me a I don't know. Well, there's not enough viewers. I'm gonna spoil it. He gave me a Worthy Park bottling from an independent bottler that just I had no idea it was Worthy
Huh.
Park. It was the WPH mark, and I thought it was so like Claren adjacent.
Whoa. Okay.
And it was really fun. I really enjoyed the nose. The palate was a little bitter, but I really enjoyed the nose. And man, but I was like, oh, yeah, Worthy Park. Come on, put out a Marks collection so we can taste through
Yeah,
it.
seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh Cactus has some, I don't know if Cactus, is that how you pronounce your name, Cactus? Diamond H, HGML, another Diamond H, DOK, all with a lot more age. The unaged warehouse number one bottling of Diamond H, HGML. Wow. All right.
Oh,
So
that's
you're you're
cool.
you're like
I,
essentially tasting along with us.
yeah, that is super cool. Oh, that
Yeah,
is super fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make your own, build your own set, right? Build your own tasting
exactly.
set. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So in conclusion, for I don't know if it's in conclusion, but for the HGML, in conclusion, I weirdly get a lot more vanilla on the nose of the unaged when I go back to it. And a lot of spice on the 1-year-old. So it feels like a lot of those spicy notes have been extracted from the oak. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a trip. I almost, between the two, I think I might even lean more in the direction of the unaged HGML right now. But that's just me right now. You know, maybe tomorrow I might want the age, but
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think,
Like,
as I said, I feel like the 1-year-old is a bit disjointed in kind of that, like, spice isn't highlighting the fruity notes in the right way. But
all right, are we ready to move on?
oh yeah, let me cue up my banner. We've got some comments there if you want to.
Randy Rice, wish you could taste along, but I'm on call. Yeah, hey, look, technically I'm on the clock right now too. My laptop's open right now. I'm looking at Slack. So far, no Slack messages. And then Lecter Records, sipping bourbon and hoping not to taste any baby vomit.
What bourbon are you sipping on, Lecter Records?
Yeah, and is that a reference to me saying the vomit comment, or is there like a baby in your lap and you're hoping that the baby doesn't throw up? I would like to know. C Diamond H.
C Diamond H.
C Diamond H.
Here we go.
The classier. That's what the C stands for. Class. Classier.
Classier Diamond H's.
Yeah, of course.
What does the H in Diamond H stand for? Actually, I don't know what the H in Diamond H. Harold.
No. What is this now? It's whatchamacallit? Harquat or Hampden or something.
Is it? No, it says it's short for. Because I remember in my video, I thought this was hysterical when I first got this. It just says Diamond H.
Oh, it doesn't break
and
down.
C Diamond H. So they don't.
Maybe it's Hampden. But there's some other H's. Well, in the HGML, the Hampden, the H in HGML is Hampden. So maybe
it's true.
The H in Diamond H and C Diamond H are also Hampden, potentially.
Or they could be Harold. We'll never know.
Could be Harold. Why not?
They could also be Hussey.
Oh,
no, it wouldn't be
because
Hussey.
they're
the new owners. Yeah. Yep.
But you know what? They could say that. They could flip the script and be like, yeah, you know what? It is now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. But classy Diamond H.
Classy Diamond H. Yeah. All right. So for classy Diamond H, we're sitting at 1,300 to 1,400 grams of esters per hectoliter of pure alcohol. Now, here is where our fermentation time goes up to 20 days, which is, that's a long fermentation time. And 10 of those days is their dead wash, I believe. I believe it's 10. I should also double check my notes. It is. It's 10.
And I know we talked about this in the last channel, but by dead wash I've seen other folks or read where they say it's like a bacterial fermentation. Is that right? Is there more ethanol being created in that process?
I believe that's no, and that's why they're calling it a dead wash.
Dead wash, okay.
Yeah.
So then what happens? Is that the time for the bacteria to run rampant and do their own thing? Are they spitting out things?
Entirely possible. So the bacteria are spitting out things. It's really incredible. Just kind of bacteria are able to produce whatever they want, essentially. Of course, it's like dependent on what they're in. But I was just talking to a friend about this recently, and she knows a lot more about microbiome than I do. And yeah, we were just talking about how crazy these little microbes are, and they're just able to build whatever they want. And they have a way of communicating with one another. And there's different theories of, kind of what's going on when they're in the presence of yeast and how they're communicating with one another. And then they start producing carboxylic acids, which then get esterified by the yeast. But these carboxylic acids are toxic to yeast, and they're also like signaling back and forth to one another. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why bacteria could be kind of like doing this communication back and forth. Anyways, it's just, there's a lot being produced. And so, as I mentioned, right, we have our carboxylic acids and our alcohols can react with one another to esterify and produce esters. The more carboxylic acids you have, the more esters you're going to have, just to keep that equilibrium in balance. And so when you have more bacteria that are producing more and more carboxylic acids, it'll drive that that equilibrium towards producing more esters.
So that makes sense to me. I'm curious, before the dead wash then, while the yeast is kind of active and doing their thing, are the yeast and the bacteria kind of competing for the same resources or the same things that they consume, or do they consume different things?
Yes and no. And that kind of depends. And I believe that the yeast that are present in the washbacks at Hampden, right, that are responsible for the fermentation, are resilient enough to survive and to kind of thrive, and they're not out competing the bacteria, I don't believe, because the wash ABV is so low, but they're still able to compete enough so that they are producing ethanol. But yeah, that's a good question. I think the answer is yes and no.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Yes and no. So going to the aroma on these, the unaged and the aged C diamond H. The thing to me, while I do on the C diamond H, right, class C diamond H, if you will, I do get some of the same notes of the berries, maybe some of the blueberries, definitely the pineapple. What I'm getting though that's different than regular unclass C diamond H though is I'm getting a little bit more like less marker and more glue or varnish, maybe like that note, whatever it is, and maybe they are different notes, I don't know, but it just seems a little bit more intensified, and a little more obvious to me, or like I lock onto it almost first before I clock the pineapple and the berry, but I still do get the berry. Yeah,
I wonder if that is the note that I kind of register as nail salon, and I don't know how much time you've spent in a nail salon.
Would you believe a lot?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, sure. Okay. No, I have not.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a mix of a lot of essentially like chemically scents, right? You've got not only do you have nail polish, you have nail polish remover, which do smell different from one another, but you've also got hairspray and all the other gels and stuff that they're applying, and it's just kind of more of a diverse nail polish remover, if you will. But
got it. Okay. But yeah, this is not bad. I think the Diamond H and the HGML, I've kind of enjoyed the aroma better or more on the unaged expressions as opposed to the unaged C Diamond H. But man, oh man, the aged C Diamond H, to me, wow, there is like a banana bread or some kind. Like I immediately am thinking of, I spilled a little bit, but I'm thinking of baked good. I'm thinking, weirdly enough, for me at least, this is a little more banana forward than everything else we've had to date. I don't know. I think of like almost like a savory banana bread. Like I feel like at some point in my life I've had banana bread that had like zucchini in it. Is that a thing?
There's zucchini bread. Yeah, zucchini bread
maybe I'm thinking
is a thing. Yeah.
Okay. But imagine if there was like a zucchini banana bread. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting a little bit. It's a little savory, but to me there's this like broader banana note. And I don't know, to me it's just a little sweet. And that's not at all going back to the unaged something that I'm getting at all. Kind of I'm getting the pineapples, the berries, and that heavy varnish glue note. But the age expression to me, I would not be able to tell you if I had this blind that these were the same distillate. There's just no way.
Okay.
Yeah, to me at least, I feel like two very different sensory experiences.
I will I will second you on that banana bread note, but they're like, it's like banana bread, the walnut banana bread with warm and toasted with butter on it. Like I can taste it, like the whipped butter, like yeah, on the 1-year-old. This is entirely the power of suggestion that you have
Of
put this
course
in
it
my
is.
head,
Yeah.
and I love it, and I'm so
Yeah.
so happy about it. Oh yeah.
So
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
no, you.
Oh, I was gonna
I'm
say
now talking through my tasting notes which I can do in my head.
for the palate on the palate for the unaged, it's sharper to date to me than the other two that we've had so far. Like it feels, while still feeling fruity, it still is fruity, but I get this little spike of that varnish. But there is a sweet fruitiness here as well, like a sweetened pineapple in a way. There's also like a very hot kind of savory sour note that I'm getting on the back end. And there's a marker.
Yeah.
That's not bad. As someone who generally is not a fan of higher ester stuff, that's not bad.
Okay. All right. All right. You've been warming up appropriately, I see.
Yeah, I think so. But there is also, man, this unaged thing has this. How do I describe it? It's little marker, little vomit, but there is a savory element and sweet fruity element here. That's hard to like clock as to like what kind of fruit. Is it pineapple? I don't know if it's banana. I don't think it is.
If it's banana, it's green banana.
Yeah.
Like
Man,
it's not. Yeah.
It's tough to get past that varnish and that marker note for me.
Yeah.
Like that's the higher note that like I get kind of fixated on. And I can't really clock the other stuff, though. But there is this perceived fruity sweetness, generic fruity.
Yeah.
But let's move. Oh, I've spilled so much rum on my carpet down there. That's awesome.
And it's the stinky kind of rum. So it's yeah, I would agree that the nail salon is very present on the Sea Diamond Age. I almost get more of those grassy notes. There is a little bit of I'll agree with that generic like just fruit salad sweetness. Maybe it's more of like a honeydew melon. But it is a lot of like I get a lot of grassiness on the palate.
Yeah, I wasn't getting that first, but now I'm totally not power
Yeah,
suggestion.
I know.
I see that. What have you done? But there's a cough syrup I'm getting right now.
On the unaged?
Yeah. Right now.
Oh.
But I did dip into the age and then went back in, so who knows? You know, because going to the age one now. The thing that jumps out is again like with the unclassy diamond age. What's the word for unclassy? When someone doesn't have class, what are they? Uncouth?
I don't.
What's that? I don't know if that's the right word.
I feel like I've been hanging out with kids too long. My brain immediately went to like ratchet.
Sure, ratchet diamond H is maybe that's what the R
Maybe
diamond
that's what
H,
the R diamond H
R stands
is.
for, yes, ratchet diamond H. There you
R
go,
isn't
folks. You
for
heard it here
Robin.
first.
R is for ratchet.
Yeah. Well, that's the spectrum. We solved it, right? Here's the spectrum, right? You start off ratchet, R diamond H, then you go to diamond H, so you've lost the ratchetness, but you're not classy yet either.
Yeah, not classy.
And then you move on to C diamond H, where you're classy. That's the spectrum. We've solved it. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
No one can tell me otherwise.
Why is C diamond H classier than I don't know. What makes it so classy? I don't know.
But I mean, besides the C in the name.
Yeah.
but it's a bit. So up front, I'm getting a little bit of, yes, there's that body, that richness. It's a touch sweeter, but again, it's not the caramels, the vanillas that I perceive. I don't know if I'm necessarily even getting a lot of baking spices, but I do get a touch of herbal quality and a little bit of like pencil, like a mechanical pencil, like a, what am I thinking of? Like a graphite. Is graphite a word? Is that a thing?
Graphite is a word and a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I get this graphite thing.
I thought the palate would be sweeter.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't. At
No.
least coming from HGML, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. Just because of that, the banana bread note that you put in my head, I was like ready for it on the palate. But it's a lot more pineapple for me on the palate. But it does have more. It's almost like the fruits are now shining in the Sea Diamond Age, but they have gone too far. They are not ripe. They are fermenting, overripe, a little bit sour.
Sour for sure. I'm 100%
Yeah,
with you on that.
right?
A lot of sourness. Yeah, a lot of sourness with that one. But to me, I can't get past that. There is maybe, I was going to say floral, and there's a floral element. What's his name? I don't know if he hasn't commented, so maybe he's not watching right now, but
Scott from
Scott,
Different Spirits.
Yeah, he loves to say that like the Hampden stuff have like this floral rock quality to them.
The rocks turning into flowers, turning back into rocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I never got that, but I'm kind of actually getting that now here. So Scott, you're probably not, because I feel like you would have commented if you were watching, but shout out to you, man. You actually, I think you're onto something with that.
I do not disagree. I think so as well. Yeah, that it does have a bit of a rocky, gravelly thing to it. Interesting.
Maybe that's because I initially I said graphite and pencil, but maybe that's we're talking about the same kind of thing. Maybe I don't want to speak on Scott's behalf, but since he's not here, I'm going to.
Yeah, someone has to if he's not here.
Yeah. Even though this is classier, I think I might want to hang out with the more the ratchet or the unclassy.
The unclassy,
age. Yeah, I think so.
The unclassy, unaged Diamond Age. Right? Interestingly.
Though I will say the aroma on the aged Sea Diamond Age is probably maybe one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I really like that banana bread. I think that is a treat. But
wow.
I might have to give it to Sea Diamond.
All right.
Yeah. Is it time?
Is it time?
Is it time for damn? Okay. Stupidness. I'm so
Love
dumb.
it.
I'm so dumb.
I think it's time for for DOK at 1,500 to 1,600 grams of esters per hectoliter of pure alcohol, the legal maximum of ester concentration that you can consume. I believe they sell higher marks in bulk, but to the perfume industry, not to the rum industry.
Got it.
So that's what I believe. Now, this one is made with high quantities of cane vinegar, high quantities of dunder, high quantities of muck, and it is fermented for 25 days. So 15, it's a long time. 15 of those days is the dead wash. And yeah, I remember my first run-in with DOK. Do you remember your first run-in with DOK?
That's a good question. I don't. I know I've had it before the unaged set. Was it one of the Velier releases? It must have been one of the Velier releases. Didn't they do a release? Like, I know they did a release like 2 years ago, but there was an earlier release. I feel like that's where I
So I don't know if your first run-in was the same as mine. The 5-year-old that was put out by PM Spirits.
Right, that was the one that was like 2, 3 years ago, right? Or 2 years
Was
ago, maybe
it?
a year ago, maybe even less
Maybe.
than that.
What year is it?
No, I don't know what the hell's going on. I've had so many high esters right now. I don't know what's up or what's down.
Yeah, yeah.
But you are, I think, a big fan of DOK, right?
I would say intellectually a fan.
On paper, you
Yeah,
are.
on paper.
No.
So DOK, I first ran into it when I was at Rum Bar Brooklyn. Is that what it's called? Rum Bar Brooklyn in Brooklyn.
Sure. Yeah. Garnett's place, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like peered up at the bar and I was like, I recognize a bottle that I have not tried that, I don't know, as someone who loves high ester stuff, just even if it is just intellectually, I'm
Sure.
like, I gotta hunt down some DOK. And I asked for a taste and I didn't record the taste, but I just got like a little bit. And so I went back the following day and I was like, I've got to actually like record tasting this. And
I
they
gotta
gave me
monetize this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I asked for a pour. I just wanted a little taste again. And I got a full 2-ounce pour.
Nice.
And I was like, oh no. So after I tried it, I was like, I don't think I can do the full 2 ounces, but I paid, I think it was like $50 for the pour or something like that. And I was like, I am drinking this entire thing.
Totally.
So I did. Right. I may have put some of it into my rum and ting.
Hey, why not, man?
I was like, oh man, I like you're just your mouth just becomes just so numb to everything. I don't know. It's kind of like, so Arminder, you have always been in rum. You love rum. You've always been a rum guy, but I am also a peat head. So I
Are
love,
you? I didn't know if I knew that about you.
I don't know. It's kind of, you love high esters. You love lots of phenols. Like it's same.
Okay.
Even though the flavors are totally different. And I used to hate peated scotches. I hated smoky scotches. I thought Jerry one time came home with a bottle of Lafroig and I thought it was the most disgusting thing he's ever put in front of me. And I'm like, how do you put that in your mouth? That's so disgusting.
Yeah.
And then just something switched and I was like, I gotta have it. And so I feel like the equivalent for those like smoky whiskey fans out there is to hunt down Octomore. And that's like as smoky as it gets, right? And of course they have 4 releases every year and everything. But it's to hunt down Octomore. I feel like is the same for like someone who loves high ester rums. You hunt down DOK.
That's the equivalent. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that. I've heard of the Octomore, but I've not experienced the Octomore. So
are you a consumer of any peated scotches?
No, I look, on paper I thought, hey, that'd be a cool thing to be into, but in practice I've kind of bounced off them, so no. But I also don't like high ester Jamaican rum. So
not yet. I think it's just exposure therapy. Like eventually you're like craving it. But again,
yeah, maybe.
But again, I 2 ounces of DOK is too many ounces of DOK for me.
And it's not even alcohol. We're not even talking about ABV. It's not even that. It's just the just how it kind of fatigues your palate.
Oh
right?
yeah. You're so tired. Yeah. I mean, my palate is extremely fatigued right now. So
yeah, for sure.
It's had a long week and it's,
yeah.
and it's from today.
So I'm not getting a whole lot on the aroma of the DOK, but that might be because I've had 4 or 5 other rums before this. I don't know. And maybe I'm feeling things, but like, I don't know. Are you picking up much? Maybe you are. I'm not.
So weirdly, and again, it could be because we have gone through 3, well, technically 6 high ester rums before this. I'm weirdly getting less of the nail salon that I normally get. Normally
Okay.
that's like the
Interesting.
first thing that punches me in the face, and I'm weirdly getting a little bit less of that, but I am getting some fun pepperiness, like straight up peppercorns that I don't
Ooh,
know that I've picked up before in this.
interesting.
But I'm also getting kind of your, yeah, the classic like fermented overripe pineapple notes that I typically get. There's a little bit, this might be because again, just my palate's fatigued, but almost like a creamsicle thing.
Ooh.
Like, I don't know, it smells nice.
Uh, I mean, I'm totally picturing a creamsicle now. You've totally,
Yeah,
yeah, I
you're
can see
welcome.
that now. Yeah, thank you. But I can, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
There's a little bit of brightness, like citrus brightness. There's a little bit of sweetness, vanilla sweetness.
mhm. But
Huh.
when I go to the 1 year and then back to the unaged, that's where I then get kind of that big punch of nail salon, interestingly. And I think that's because the 1 year has some really nice sweetness to it. Like,
There is some really nice sweetness. Yeah.
but it's sweet and it's cinnamon, almost like red hots,
Ooh.
but not super spicy cinnamon. I don't know if you were to like dilute red hots.
Yeah, I see. Like red hot is obviously an artificial cinnamon, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
It's not a woody cinnamon. It's not. It's just whatever that high bright note of cinnamon, I guess, is.
Yeah.
And I can see that. I do get some. I do get a little bit of like um, nail salon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But when you go back to, at least for me, when I go back to the unaged, it's like that's where the nail salon comes in.
Well, yeah, totally.
So it's almost like smelling the unaged first and then going to the aged. I'm like able to get the nail salon out of the way with the unaged.
Mm. And then in the comments, Cactus or however you pronounce your name, apologize. At least or they
Add some
suggested to add
water.
some
Yeah.
water, and that's a good point. For none of these have we added any water. I maybe we need to do two more of these where we add water to everything because that obviously will can change a lot of what we're tasting and perceiving.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point, especially with 60% ABV. Like how does that compare once you add a little bit of water? How does it open up? I haven't done that with a lot of Jamaican rums, but I have found with the higher proof Foursquare ECS releases that are 60, high 50, low 60% ABVs, I bounce off them. But the moment I add a little bit of water, like they transform and they become a whole different experience that I very much enjoy. But it takes the water, adding the water there to be the case. And they smell and taste oftentimes sort of very different. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious about that with these as well.
How much water are you adding? Are you doing like a couple drops or are you doing like splashes? Like what, or somewhere in between?
It's nothing scientific. I take it to my fridge that has a little of the water spout, and I go real quick. Spill all over my pants, but I go real quick, and I go. It probably is more than you probably should be adding, Frank. It's not drops at all. It's I don't know, an eighth of an ounce,
Yeah, yeah.
quarter of an ounce,
So
maybe.
more of, I don't know, instead of like drops, it's like a dropper of
Sure,
water.
let's go with
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, let's go
yeah,
with that.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
A
let's go with
little.
that. No, yeah.
So on the palate of the unaged DOK, I'm like pleasantly met with a lot of fruitiness. I feel like that creamsicle thing comes forward on the palate as well, but there's that nail salon that's present.
Uh-huh.
Um, but also has some like, and some of those grassy qualities, which when I tasted the 8 Marks unaged collection, I feel like start to finish, right? All 8 of them. I feel like the later marks didn't give me all that much grassiness.
Hmm.
Whereas like the earlier or the lower ester marks did. And so maybe it was in comparison to those, I wasn't really picking up that grassiness, but now I'm getting it. Um, on the palate, and it's nice, and there's some zest here too, some citrus zest, like maybe key lime, right?
I'm with you on the citrus for sure.
Yeah.
That bright,
Yeah.
like energetic note of like key lime or citrus. I
Hmm.
totally pick that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested. I haven't had a sip of the 1-year-old DOK.
Well, let's do it.
Mhm.
Sorry. It kind of went down the wrong pipe.
Hmm.
Fun times. Hey, vamp a little bit while I get some water. I'll be right back.
All right. So we have Cactus, you said, with the warehouse number 1 bottlings, they're at 63%. They are at that magic number of where the unaged overproof rums are at. Adding 10 to 15% of water works for me. Yeah, that's great. That's, I haven't, so Scott from Different Spirits is very adamant about, tasting neat and then he tastes with water. I typically just taste neat, and I think that's because tasting with water adds a whole nother layer, right? It changes the entire experience, or it can change the entire experience, where you think that it's you assume that adding water is going to essentially just dilute your spirit, but it really is allowing some of those compounds to fall below detection so that others can come into detection. It's allowing some of those to kind of free themselves a little bit from the ethanol structures that might be forming around them and keeping them in solution. So you might be able to pick out more of those volatiles on the nose. So adding water is a great idea. It's just one that now adds a whole lot more time, because I would want to be much more systematic about it, of like, okay, if it's at this ABV, I want to get it down to a specific ABV every time. But adding water, yeah, definitely changes the experience the of the entire spirit, I think. Um, I tried to vamp. Arminder, how are you
Well,
doing?
I'm curious, like to add to what you were just saying, what does actually adding water in the way that we do, what does that do chemically? Like I understand how like distillers will proof down like with a small amount of water over time, blah, blah, blah. But when we add like whether it's a couple drops,
Mhm.
chemically, what is that doing, if anything?
The
I mean, obviously,
Probably the biggest thing that it's doing, I wouldn't say there's too much of a chemical change. There's not going to be any reactions happening, but there is a thermal change. So when you mix ethanol and water, the temperature, there is an exothermic reaction. So the temperature increases.
mm,
That can help to kind of volatilize more of those chemical compounds. So you're able to pick more up on the nose. It also now
mm,
changes the solubility of some of the compounds. Some are more soluble in ethanol, some are more soluble in water, but they're kind of existing in these little molecular structures where, some ethanol molecules will surround the compounds that are, for example, like guaiacol. There's a paper that shows the simulation of where guaiacol falls within an ethanol and water mixture, and it can get kind of encapsulated in ethanol molecules because it's more soluble in ethanol, or it kind of, it gravitates towards ethanol. So you can kind of release some of those structures, break up some of those structures.
mm.
So
So just correct me if I trying to encapsulate what you just said. Like at least on the aroma, by adding water allows certain things that maybe didn't kind of jump out to allow them to kind of like leap out. Is that in a way
but
kind of what you were saying potentially?
yeah, potentially it is potentially, because if the concentration isn't high enough, right? If now adding water dilutes it where it falls below your detection limits, then like you're not going to be able to smell it, but adding water can help
Mm,
to release some compounds that you might not necessarily pick up in the bottled version of your spirit. So
Got it.
yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know how much you don't know.
You don't know, right? I gotta say again, this is obviously your mark, but it's not, for being like the big, bold, badass, like high ester mark, it's still drinkable. Maybe at a higher proof it might not be, I don't know. But like for me, as someone who gets scared of this stuff, frankly, at least the age expression, yeah, it's drinkable. I'm not saying I'm in love with it or anything like that, but like for being this 16 grams per hectoliter or 1600 grams per hectoliter, whatever, it's relatively approachable, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, Hampden does a great job. So I don't think they'd put out something that they didn't think was drinkable. And of course, like drinkability is up to each person to decide.
Sure. Yeah. We got different thresholds.
Yeah.
There is now, on this age expression, I just picked up a little bit of absinthe-like quality to it that I hadn't noticed before. That's interesting. I kind of dig that, actually.
A little wormwood, maybe.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah. Let's go with wormwood. I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Psychedelic, yeah.
This, so I think that this has a nice balance of the fruity flavors from the unaged alongside some of those, like it is like a little bit of spice, right? Like a little bit of this like star anise quality, a little bit of spice, a little bit of it's almost like a whisper of like, hey, I was like with a barrel for a little bit,
I dabbled.
I dabbled with a barrel. In a way that yeah, exactly. In a way that I think honestly, like this is as far as balance goes, like yeah, I think it's doing a nice job of just like hints of barrel influence, but not being like, oh yeah, this was big barrel influence. And again, it's 1 year. So in an ex-bourbon barrel, are you going to get that much barrel influence? Like you shouldn't, but with, which one was it? The HGML that was like super spicy, that was a lot more spicy. I think it was the HGML.
The HGML,
yeah. Where it had a lot more clove, where that was kind of just like, yeah, I wish that had a little bit more of that fruity balance, but I think the fruits and the kind of spicier notes play nicely together.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually, as someone who's kind of been scared of DOK to a certain extent, I'm kind of aroma and palate kind of enjoying both of them. Not loving them, but like they're enjoying them. They're fine.
Yeah. I think of the night, I think the 1-year-old DOK might be kind of taking the spotlight for me.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I keep feeling like going back for it. I don't think it has the nice mouthfeel that Diamond H 1 year did, though.
Yes,
that had a nice viscosity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah. Though to me, the highlight was the aroma on the Sea Diamond H. For me, if I'm talking, if I'm comparing aromas and palates, if I could separate those out, that banana bread note that I got, I absolutely adored. That was my favorite thing, aroma wise. But palate wise, maybe the aged Diamond H might be it. Yeah.
I wish that banana bread just carried through on the palate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. HGML, when I go back to the 1-year-old HGML, that I get, autumnal. It's like there's Christmas tree and the cinnamon pine cones. Like
no,
that's Christmas. Yeah, on the nose. We got a question. I got a question from Cactus. Do you have any plans to throw some of your own stuff into wood? I think this is probably the question I get asked the most.
Yeah, I would like to ask you that as well. We
Is,
both want to ask you that.
yeah. So actually, tangential, well, tangential, but also related.
Mhm.
Um, craft distillers in California are going to be allowed to sell DTC and ship DTC for direct to consumer for California residents for an additional year. I believe I told you that they were like talking about taking it away.
Right.
Um,
So currently, what you do is DTC, direct to
yeah.
consumer,
So what I do, all of my sales are DTC. I don't have a distributor or anything like that.
or down to clown. Sorry, sorry,
the,
stupid. That's
the
stupid.
acronyms.
Sorry.
And so when I started when I started Rum It All, the way Aaron of Dead of Night and I kind of approached it was like, all right, let's see what we can do in 6 months. If they take away
Mm.
DTC, we'll pivot as needed, or that's it. Like it's done. Um, and because we get another year of DTC, that means 2025, as long as everything goes to plan, I will be continuing to put out more releases. And I would love to throw some of my rum into wood because I do believe that it would age very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to experience that. But the question is, have you done that yet?
No, I have not done it yet.
Okay.
I
Got
have
it.
not done it yet. No, nope. I
Got it.
haven't had the time nor the resources to do it, but I do have, some staves at home that I could play around with. So some
Oh,
tiny little
interesting.
batches if I wanted to do
Interesting.
that. But yeah,
Okay.
yes. So the plan is that in the future, yes, there will be some aged rum it all expressions that make it to the world.
That would be super cool
Yeah.
to experience that. I mean, I'm sure the folks here also feel that way, but yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And yeah, hopefully, the DTC thing, it becomes more of a permanent thing,
Mm-hmm.
more than a year for your sake, obviously. But I just feel like, why the hell not? Like, what do you
Yeah,
like? What?
I agree. I think this is a peek behind the curtain of because I feel like most people wouldn't have even noticed whether or not their like DTC got taken away for craft distillers. It probably wouldn't affect the general consumer, but it is something that definitely will impact craft distillers, and it was put into place as a relief for or during COVID.
Mm,
Um, it's heavily lobbied against by
distributors?
distributors.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. And not to say like it's all distributors or anything. I think there's other people who are lobbying heavily against it as well. But luckily, they've given us another year. I think it should become a permanent thing. I think New York just made it a permanent thing.
Oh, great. Okay.
So New York State. And so it's like, all right, I feel like it would be a step in the wrong direction if they took it away from us, but
Yeah.
it's
Right.
possible. It's
And it's
possible.
tough to like. I mean, what's the lobbying arm for the craft distillers in California? How strong is it? I mean, compared to like how much money is there to help lobby
Yeah.
compared to like distributors or whoever what other vested interests there are, right? It's
Yeah.
tough to, yeah.
Craft distillers are not that rich, to say the least.
But do you guys at least have like a Slack channel that you're all are on or something like
Do we
that?
have a Slack channel? No.
No.
No, but there definitely should be one.
It should be
Yeah.
step one right there to
Yeah,
organize,
exactly.
right?
At least like a WhatsApp thread.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, some sort of
Something
form
like
of
that.
communication, all y'all to get together.
Yeah, 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 I think so. But yeah, so that's the answer to your question. Like, do I have any plans? Plans, no, but yes. Plans
There you go.
for aging some stuff. Yeah. Um, but all right. So do we have any concluding remarks? Did you want to go back to any of these? How do we want to wrap it up?
I I don't know. I mean, I can't go back. Well, I could pour more out. I have like a limited glassware with me right now, but I can make it work. We kind of already talked about what some of our favorites were, right?
Yeah.
Like what I said, the aroma of the HGML was probably my favorite experience altogether, but I think I preferred the aged Diamond H kind of on palate wise. Did we, I guess what's the question here? Did we feel like
Oh yeah, I know the question. I know what the question is. I've got the question.
Okay, well, what do you think? Well, my question was like, do we feel like that 1 year of aging like adds, what does it add, right? Because I don't think it adds, I don't think at least I've experienced a whole lot of like vanillas and caramels and all that, right? Maybe there's a little bit of body and richness, but it's not the classic hallmarks of what I think of, at least with aging. And maybe 1 year of aging, that's all you're ever going to get. I don't know. Like it doesn't seem like I'm getting what I expected to get out of 1 year of aging.
Right.
No.
It's so you expected to get more of like, you expected to get more of those aged spirit qualities, just maybe like more diluted. Is that what you were kind of looking? Yeah.
And I didn't get that. And now the next question was like, in terms of as we ramp up an ester count, how much more expressive is the base distillate against the age, whatever wood notes there are. I don't know if I feel like on the DOK and the Classy Diamond H, we're getting more more of the esters and less of the, compared to the other two.
Right. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah. And I don't think, and this is now I'm trying to take into account all 8 of the marks, right? Unaged and aged. And I don't think that there was a correlation between like the flavor profile of the base distillate and then how much that came through in the 1 year old. I think that was so dependent per batch, right? Because some of the, you can even tell by the colors, right? Some of the lower ester concentration marks, I thought really had a nice base coming through, and the oakiness was not as prevalent. Whereas, we can see that that's kind of like, it's not a linear progression. Right. But I mean, definitely the higher esters, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I get the nail polish remover and the, I get the ethyl acetate coming through, regardless.
Do you think, is there interest on your end, or as the consumer, to see a version of this age set at like 3 years or 5 years? And is that
100%? 100%. But that's also because I like to play these crazy mind games of like, okay, are there any correlations that we can draw, right? After 1 year, I feel like the kind of thing that we can, so this was the question I had, right? Was the 1 year old 8 mark set representative of the impact of 1 year of aging on all of the marks? Were you able to see like, oh yes, after 1 year of aging, you get this added to it or this subtracted from it? And I think the answer is no, but also yes. Like we can create some like averages, right?
Yeah. It feels somewhat neither here nor there. Like, I don't know. It's not like it's maybe 1 year is not enough, but maybe it's, I don't know. Like, I'm still of the mind that if I could only buy one, I would buy the unaged, because to me that's like a better self-contained experience. And yeah, clearly in certain cases there's differences. So there's not differences with 1 year of aging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what conclusions I've drawn. Maybe the conclusion is I can't draw conclusions with just 1 year of aging. you
Right.
know?
It is hard to see that, okay, 1 year of aging, you get these flavors extracted. But I think the general thing that we can see with 1 year of aging is kind of what you touched upon, right? It's like it hasn't really had the time to mature, but it has had some time to extract some flavors and aromas from the barrel. So it's almost like, doing a quick steep of a tea.
Mm,
And you're like,
right.
yeah, but if that kind of had its time to settle and all those flavors had time to marry and everything, and some of those slower chemical reactions were happening, and you could get the evaporation losses and everything, that would now add to more of the maturation. Whereas after 1 year, we are getting like, this is what's extracted from a barrel. That's kind of how it goes, right? It's not a linear thing with aging. You're getting a lot of extraction, and then you're getting a bunch of, I mean, there's a extraction happening the entire time, but most of it happens right in the beginning. And then you're getting those slower chemical reactions happening that result in a spirit that is more matured the older it
Mm,
gets, right?
right.
Um, so I think, yeah. And you brought this up in your video when you introduced the 1 year old 8 Marks collection of like, what is the point of this this collection, right? Is it to taste it up against the unaged? Is it to taste these kind of individually? Is it to taste the 1 year olds against one another?
Another, right.
Right? What is kind of the whole point of it? Um, and I think it's up to interpretation. And we've obviously said, like, let's taste them alongside the unaged. Let's see
Sure.
what 1 year does for the marks. And clearly we can't have like, oh yes, you are gonna get clove extracted, like a clove note extracted from every single, like,
Right.
they all picked up this clove note. Like, no, only some of them picked up a note of
Right.
clove, and others picked up, more body and
Yeah.
everything. So
The nuttiness in LFCH, for example, to me, like that, to me,
right,
the aging
right.
came, I got some nuttiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I think that was like the big question where I was like, this is the question I have. And the answer is like yes and no.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would like to your what you said, love to see another iteration aged a little bit more. And then I think to me, I'd love to, then you've got the comparison of the 1 year versus the 3 year, 5 years, see what that does.
Mhm.
I want it all, man. You know,
I
like,
want it all.
yeah. I want different barrel types. I want continental versus tropical. I want all of it,
Yeah. Oh my
you
gosh, we
know?
didn't even dive into continental versus tropical, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, that obviously has a big impact. I wonder if they're secretly working on some continental, like,
I would
the
love
next
to
one's going to be
experience that.
released. Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah, exactly. Because that's something they could do for next year. Like, hey, here's the same 8 Marks, age 1 year, but now in Amsterdam or Liverpool, wherever it
Mhm.
is, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be super cool to experience. Um, we shall see.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Um, all right. I don't know. Do we have any more concluding remarks? Brap said, if I fill a first or second fill 15-gallon barrel, and then they decide to pull DTC, then I'll go out on a high. Yeah, go out with a bang. Go out with a go out with an aged product. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Why the
You're
hell
not
not? Right.
you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
wrong. 2025. Very excited for all the projects for 2025. So for those of you out in California, buy my rum so I can afford to
Yes.
do so I can
Yeah.
afford to
Definitely
do
do.
more of these. Yeah.
Well, in theory, how much of a heads up would they give you guys if they said this was the, like, would they give you like a X months notice? Like, hey, heads up, we're not continuing this in 2026. Like, when would you know so that you could make these kind of decisions of quickly racking out
Yeah.
your whatever rum you have in a barrel, right?
So they made the decision this year at the end of September, I believe, but they didn't put anything out until November 6th. Or at
Mm,
least ABC didn't write a little thing until November 6th. But this bill is set to expire on January 1st, 2026. So essentially
Mm.
they like don't need to give us a heads up. They can just be like, okay,
Ah,
that's it. It's
so
almost
it's
like
on you to, yeah.
the heads up is like, oh, heads up, we're continuing it. Like
And
that.
that can
That's
come at
kind
any
of,
time.
yeah.
Right. So in theory, you would have to decide logistically
Yeah.
come October, November, like, hey, no, there's been no updates. There's a good chance that they might not renew this. So I might need to just bottle this stuff up and sell it now.
Yep.
Kind
Yep.
of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or pivot and get a distributor.
Well, of course, that's the other option, right?
Right.
Talk to your buddy Ryan, right?
Yeah. Yep. The rum shark. Yep. Exactly.
Exactly.
All right.
What was the
So
name of it? Laxative spirits? Super laxative, which is also.
superlative.
Oh, it's not laxative? Okay, superlative.
Superlative. But I like super laxative. Ryan, I hope you're watching this.
I hope he is too.
Yeah, so all right, we can wrap this up. I think you
Sure.
answered the question. I had another question of which of the collections would you buy, the unaged or the 1 year. I think we both agree the unaged 8 marks collection is still like obviously we bought both of them, but
Yeah.
that one's the one that that I feel like I would recommend people buy for more of an intellectual, right.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to actually drink them, then maybe I'd probably lean towards the aged, I think that for me, maybe they're a little more drinkable that way, especially the higher ester end of it. But yeah, if I'm actually want a sensory experience and an educational experience, go with the unaged for sure.
Did you end up the one that you really liked that you were going to make a Mai Tai with? Did you end up making a Mai Tai with it?
Oh gosh, did I do that? No, because I wanted to wait to make sure. Well, we weren't going to double dip. I did not, but I do want to now make. Bob, actually, if I can plug my own video. So the one that I wanted to make a Mai Tai with was the aged LFCH because I thought the nuttiness.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of like dried fruit raisin note was really nice. Well, it turns out this year's Great House, which is not here handy right now, the 2024 is 70% LFCH. And I made a Mai Tai with it, and I thought it was spectacular.
I've heard
one of the best Mai Tais I've had this year, for sure.
I've heard really great things about this year's Great House release.
Yeah, it's what supposedly, because Hampden hasn't released this, 70% LFCH and then 15% HGML. And I think I've kind of really started enjoying HGML in terms of the higher, and there's 15% DOK. So all really great marks. And that thing that really drew me into the age LFCH, that nuttiness, which you would think were great. I think what I said right in our last thing was like, oh, I should try some Mai Tai.
Yeah.
The Great House expression, which I think the LFCH is between 3 to 4 or 5 years old. My God, spectacular. Yeah, spectacular.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I need to secure myself a bottle.
You sure do.
I do. So, all right. Yeah. I think we've wrapped it up. I should end this before it hits 2 hours. Dear God. For those of you who are watching who don't follow the Rum Revival, who don't subscribe, please do. I don't know. I'll put it in the comments or the description. You are tagged in this, I think. Really good at YouTube plugs,
We're all figuring it out. We really are, yeah.
Not all of us can make $7 per video, Arminder,
But yeah, thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And it's been great looking at you here. Really, again, big fan of that gradient color thing in the background. It's really pleasant to look at. It's really soothing and calming to look at that.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, matches my sweatshirt. If you guys who tuned in for this enjoy the lives, like, please let me know. I'd be up for trying to do them more regularly, since this is my first one that I've hosted. But yeah, I don't know. Anything, Arminder, have you enjoyed the lives? Have you enjoyed doing them? Are you
Oh
planning to
yeah,
do more?
well, maybe I like that there's less work involved leading up to it. You know what I mean? There's less prep work instead of having to write a script and worry about all that. And there's no editing afterwards.
There's no
So yeah,
editing.
So yeah, we're spending 2 hours on this thing, but like that's very contained 2 hours, and I kind of like that actually. So maybe I'll do more of that as well.
Just like when you're not feeling like editing a video. I don't know, you could go full like Scott at Different Spirits and just put it on the
Yeah.
internet. No
Scott does
editing.
that. Lance at the Lone Canner does that as
Yeah,
well.
Lance does that too. I think
Yeah.
there's definitely prep that goes into that though.
Oh, there has to be, but like,
Yeah.
mine's would be a hot mess. Like it would be incoherent. It would make no sense at all. So that's why I have cuts and edits. Yeah.
The amount of times that I just stop mid sentence, just go, no, I need to redo that. Just mid sentence. So, yeah, it happens. It happens more. Sometimes I include them in little bloopers and stuff. But
Sure.
anyways, guys, we just hit 2 hours. I'm gonna end this. This was great. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us, everyone who was sipping some rum along with us, and hopefully next time we do this, yeah, you'll join us again. But all right, have a great night, everyone, and yeah, like, subscribe, do all the things. Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
we both have Patreons too, and yes, thank you. Jeffrey did the did the plugs for us.
Right on.
All right, good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.